Namaste. Thank you once again for joining me. Today we're diving into the profound wisdom and teachings of Ayurveda and the Shankya philosophy in order to understand the self. This timeless wisdom of Ayurveda and the Shankya philosophy is really there to discover the deeper truths about who we are. Many of you know that Ayurveda is not just a healing system, it's a complete philosophy of life and consciousness that's rooted in this classical Shankya philosophy. Ultimately, Shankya means to know the truth, and it helps us to better understand our purpose in life, who we are, and how to live in balance with everything. Shankya also means to count or to enumerate. There's 24 cosmic principles in the evolution of creation, from the most subtle to the gross manifestation of the material world with all the experiences we have. And by deeply understanding these principles, we can recognize the true nature and the power of creation that's all around us and within us. There was a rishi, a sage, a great wise man named Kapila, who was really in a state of samadhi, of absorption with the supreme consciousness, and he received this wisdom, this profound insight into the reality of the universe and consciousness. And this is the foundation for many aspects of Vedic wisdom: Ayurveda, Yoga, Jyotish. Shankya philosophy is dualistic in nature. It distinguishes between Purusha, the pure, undifferentiated consciousness, and Prakriti, all of matter. And this dualism, this understanding of the cosmos, is what all material and mental phenomena arise from, and all the interactions in this material world arise from this. Many of the Vedic philosophies emphasize singularity, unity, and that there's only one. And that is true, and Shankya does acknowledge us. But within that one, there is the multitude. And that multitude really offers us the understanding of the human experience. It's common for, in the spiritual realms, to say it's all one, it's all one. Okay, that's great. But how do I translate it's all one into I have to pay the bills, I have to go to work, I have to deal with my neighbor, I have to feed the cat? Ayurveda and the Shankya philosophy give us a fundamental framework for the human experience and how to do all of this. So let's dive in. These principles, this principle of the universe, originally there was nothing. There was the unmanifest called avyakta. And within that, there is what's called Purusha, which is the pure consciousness. It's the eternal, unchanging awareness, the unchanging observer, the pure consciousness that illuminates everything in creation, but it's non-material, and it's devoid of any kind of attributes. It is neither a creator nor a destroyer. Its ultimate purpose is to witness itself, to witness the unfolding of creation. And Shankya tells us that each living being possesses an individual Purusha, which experiences, at some point, moksha, liberation, when it realizes its separateness and unity. That Purusha, from there comes what's called Prakriti, which is all of nature. That's like the Big Bang. From the pure witness state, something happened. Manifestation happened. Matter happened. Energy happened. A dynamic explosion happened. And as we observe, everything in nature is always changing and always evolving. Modern science says energy is neither created nor destroyed. It just changes form. And the Purusha is there to witness it. Prakriti is what makes it manifest. So these are just terms to explain what is already there. Prakriti is the root cause of the creation. It comes from the unmanifest, the eternal and inert, and it contains the potential for all material and mental phenomenon. That Prakriti is everything we see. And it's predominantly made up of what we call Gunas, qualities. There's 3 predominant qualities that we've identified in the universe. And modern science acknowledges all of this. The Sattvic quality, the Rajasic quality, and Tamasic quality. That's all there is. Every thought, every action, every substance is made up of some balance of this. Sattva is the natural, balanced, harmonic intelligence state of being. It's pure. It's in its natural state of its original intention. Rajas is simply the activity. It's dynamic. It's filled with passion. It's filled with the desire for life. Without that desire, what are we? Well, there's no motivation to do anything. And Tamas is the inertia state. It's also considered and described as darkness or ignorance, but it's also a state of complete rest. Without Tamas, we get insomnia. We have to have that state of inertia. We have to have that state of rest. And ultimately, we want to have these in balance. When in equilibrium, when all 3 of these go into absolute equilibrium, Prakriti, nature, becomes inactive. Creation begins when the equilibrium kind of gets disturbed in some way, leading to these 23 other principles in creation. But Ayurveda describes Prakriti as the basis of the creation and the basis of understanding our physical, mental, emotional constitution, what Ayurveda calls dosha. The combination of these gunas, that's the manas Prakriti, the mental constitution, and then the deha Prakriti is the body's constitution. When we understand the dance between these, we gain clarity about the nature of ourself, the nature of ourself in the world, and what's the true self versus our temporary identity. When we apply Shankya's principles to daily life and health, we start to see the physical body, the mind, the emotions, all as expressions of creation, as Prakriti. Not good, not bad, just differentiated. And when they do go into balance, then we can attain that pure consciousness again. We go back to that state of undifferentiated awareness. And that's what the rishis call, the Vedas call Satchidananda, pure bliss consciousness. It's undifferentiated. It's a state of absolute stillness in awareness. And then Ayurveda can show us, when we have that witness state, Ayurveda shows us how the imbalances started. It's a forgetting of our true nature, how dis-ease started. It's a forgetting of our true identity. And it's an over-identification with the temporary states, physically or mentally. It's a neglect, actually. It's a neglect of the deeper awareness within. We're neglecting ourselves. The purpose of life is to eventually get back to that witness state, which is bliss. They describe it as bliss. Ultimately, we only get glimpses of that while we're still in the ego mind. When we are dwelling in this beauty state, this state of pure, absolute, I would say what we would call love. Love has no reason. Love has no purpose other than more love. That's when we're really connected to our authentic self. There's a saying, God is love. God is everything, actually, but it's not limited. It's not conditional. It's unconditional. That's the authentic self, is unconditional love. After the Prakriti, after the creation happened, the next stage in the creation is what is really referred to as the mind. And Shankya describes 3 levels of this called Mahat, Buddhi, and Chitta. Mahat is the cosmic intelligence of everything. It's the organizing intelligence that makes the stars in the sky, the galaxies, the rotation of the sun and the moon and everything there is. It's the cosmic organizing intelligence. Buddhi is the intellect, and Chitta is the actual mind stuff, the foundation of the mental faculties and all the interactions it has with the material world. I want to take quite a bit of time to look at that. That's fundamental. These concepts of Mahat, Buddhi, and Chitta are fundamental in understanding ourself, are fundamental in understanding how to operate in the material world. This Mahat, this cosmic intelligence, is really the first manifestation of Prakriti, of nature. It represents this universal principle of intelligence. And like I was saying, it's responsible for the order unfolding of the universe. And its nature is sattvic. It's just pure. Inherently, it's balanced and luminous. It's light. It's pure light. It's pure wisdom of the universe. It's the universal awareness embodying itself in an unadulterated way. We can call it the substratum that holds all of potential for manifestation to exist. This emerges, this wisdom, this universal awareness emerges from the three gunas, from Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. We call it a disturbed state, but it's an awakened state, not awakened to the highest state of consciousness, but it's awake, it's active, it's moving. And that's the first transformation that happens. And eventually, this becomes the blueprint for the ego at some point. We'll see how this works, but it eventually becomes the ego. But it's the cosmic blueprint. It's the latent organizing energy within all of nature that's structured. It governs the laws of nature, and it's what maintains the harmony. And ultimately, it allows living beings to distinguish between what the Vedas call Satya and Asatya, which is real and unreal, which is eventually really important for understanding our true self and spiritual evolution. And real and unreal doesn't mean that we're not here and that what I'm saying in my microphone and my voice isn't real and your ears hearing it aren't real. It means the real means what is eternal, and unreal means what is temporary, what is not eternal. And that's really, really important when we want to find out who we are. And when this intelligence is awake within us, it enables the transformation of these subtle things to become in the gross material world and the foundation of the physical universe. From a completely Ayurvedic perspective, the Mahat represents the intelligence of the body and the mind. It governs in the body the cellular intelligence, the innate wisdom that it enables and allows the body to heal, grow, and adapt. The millions and millions of processes that are happening in our body do it without us telling it what to do. Our ego's not involved in that. We don't say heart beat. We don't say DNA, RNA replicate. They do it on its own. That's this Mahat, the cellular intelligence, the cosmic intelligence. Dis-ease, disruption, disorder to the body-mind complex is a disruption of this cosmic intelligence. And there's psychological implications to this. In human psychology, the Mahat, we can refer to that as maybe like the higher mind, which is seeking truth and knowledge. And individuals aligned with this, we see them as wise people. We see them with clarity, that they have clarity and that they have spiritual insight and they can offer us something. And we'll go on retreats for these kind of people and pay lots of money to be in their presence. When that human psychology, that higher mind is disrupted or disturbed for whatever reason, it leaves the lower mind, the ego mind, in a state of confusion, delusion, and inability to discern between anything. From this Mahat is what manifests as Buddhi, the intellect. And that Buddhi is the function of the mind on an individual level. It's the aspect of intelligence that enables discernment, understanding, and decision-making within each individual person. I have the ability to make this decision. It's not just happening on its own. The cells, they replicate on their own. The biology inside the body does it on its own. I decide what action I want to do, and those actions are of three qualities: sattvic, rajasic, or tamasic. And I can decide which action I want to do. I can discern that this action has this kind of quality, and it will potentially lead to this result physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So Buddhi is it's able to reflect pure consciousness when it's in a pure state. If our discrimination is disturbed, we can't determine the truth from false. We can't determine permanence from impermanence. So this Buddhi, this intellect, helps us distinguish self, Purusha, from non-self, the Prakriti, the manifestation. And that, when we're trying to attain knowledge of the self, is really a critical step in attaining that liberation from the falsehood that we're separate. That's what we call moksha. And also, this level of intellect allows us our decision-making process. Buddhi evaluates data and experience in the external world, and then we can have a rational thought about it and make a clear choice. Ultimately, it kind of functions like a mirror reflecting consciousness. On a neurological level, it governs higher cognitive synapses. It governs the higher cognitive function, the ability to learn, the ability to reason, memory. It helps us to balance thought with action. And when our thoughts and actions are in alignment with a higher truth, with a higher purpose, we can lead a harmonious life and create harmony for others around us. When it's impaired, the mind goes haywire. We can't make a decision. We have indecisiveness. We have poor judgment. We have forgetfulness. It's like drinking alcohol. You drink alcohol on Friday night and get shit-faced drunk, and you feel like shit Saturday morning and all weekend, and then the week goes by, and next Friday you forgot again. You forgot that doesn't make you feel good. This happens all the time with so many scenarios. But when it becomes severe, or this forgetfulness happens throughout our life, when we reach the Vata stage of life, or even before then, we get things like dementia. We get delusions. We get confused about who we are, where we are, what our purpose is. Ayurveda does offer really cool strategies for enhancing and balancing this intellect. I mean, there's really amazing herbs. We call them Medya Rasayanas, neurorejuvenating herbs. Things like Brahmi, Shankapushpi, Ashwagandha, Kapikachu, Lion's Mane, and so many others. Ayurveda encourages us to eat sattvic diet, fresh foods, local grown, in season, free from chemicals, and lifestyle things like meditation and yoga and self-inquiry, atma-vicharya, looking at the self, asking, who am I? Why am I here? What is my purpose? All these practices, eating pure foods, they enhance the mind and the clarity of the mind. From the Buddhi comes what we call Chitta, which is all the mind stuff, the mind and all the faculties of the mind. It includes all mental activities. It's our thoughts, it's our memories, it's the emotions arriving from repetitive thoughts, and it is the desires. And in Shankya philosophy, Chitta is the subtle material from which the ego operates. It's the Ahamkara. It's the ego. It's like a mango seed. Hopefully, if you plant the mango seed, it makes a mango tree. It doesn't make an avocado tree. Ahamkara is ego. We don't want to kill the ego. We don't want to destroy the ego like so many spiritual paths say. We need it. It helps us to function. It's the operating system. The nature of this chitta, this mind, is influenced by a fluctuation, a dance of those three gunas, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. It's always moving. It's constantly shaped by both the external world, the external stimuli, and internal impressions. This is why yoga says we have to be very careful about what we put in through the sense experience, because it shapes the mind so much. There's different components of this chitta. Remember that the mind, it's just an operating system. It's like the operating system of a computer. It can be updated. We can get new versions of it. It's responsible for processing the input. Whatever you type into the computer database stores it. Same way the mind, this Buddhi, it stores this information. The Ahamkara, the ego, is the sense of the individuality or the ownership. It's the person who owns the computer. It's the person who's programming the computer and the person who's deciding which programs to run when. Those programs can always be updated. But ultimately this chitta, it's a storage house. It's the hard drive that's storing all that information. It's storing all of our past experiences. Our past experiences, for a large part of it, shape our personality and what actions we do. They're called samskaras. They're called latent tendencies, the vibrational patterns we've created over and over again. It's like if you walk the same path in the forest over and over again, it's going to make a trail. And so these are the mental trails that we've created in this life and past lives that we brought with us. It stays with us. And also, this mind, this intellect, this chitta, it's a process that integrates or doesn't integrate so well our emotions, desires, and thoughts. Ideally, when we're in a state of equilibrium, we are well integrated. We're well regulated. And we can decide which actions to take throughout our life, which actions to take ultimately in any moment. But our actions ultimately influence our destiny. And when we have a balanced chitta, it really does ensure this harmonious response to whatever life's challenges are. When the mental constitution, the manas prakriti, is balanced, we have emotional and psychological well-being. And we don't need to live a life with anxiety, fear, depression, obsessive behaviors, worrying about what we did in the past or what's going to happen in the future. But how these gunas, these qualities are affecting the mind. The sattva quality creates a calmness and a clarity and emotional stability in our mind. If there's rajas, again, it inspires us to create, to do something in the world. But when it's agitated, the mind becomes agitated. We have uncontrollable desires and restlessness, and we spend our time trying to fulfill a desire. And one of the four philosophies of the Buddha is that suffering exists, and there's a cause of that suffering. There's an end to that cause of suffering, but the fundamental cause is the attachments to filling the desires or averting something from happening. Raga and Vesha, attachment and aversion. And from Rajas, Tamas happens. And when the mind is totally dysregulated, there's lethargy, there's ignorance, there's an emotional dullness. We can't access our emotions properly. Physically, we can't feel properly. We don't have a true somatic experience in our body. So the interrelationship between this Mahat, Buddhi, and Chitta individualizes all living beings, and it operates within the framework of life. And again, Ayurveda offers tools for creating unity in these three aspects of the mind: the cosmic mind, Mahat, the Buddhi, the intellect, and Chitta, the mental processes of the framework of the computer mind. Ayurveda says through meditation, through pranayama, through diet and lifestyle, through certain ritualistic practices, all of these can be balanced on a regular basis and ultimately leading to an evolution of our intelligence from the cosmic to the individual and back to the cosmic. That's how it came in. We came in from nothing and eventually we go back to nothing. This balance is essential for mental health. It's essential for spiritual growth. By understanding and nurturing these principles, we can achieve harmony. We can achieve and realize our highest potential. What often disrupts us from doing that is what's called Ahamkara, the next phase of Shankya, which is the ego. It's a sense of I. It arises out of this Mahat and Chitta. It represents the individuality, the I-ness, the I and I. It's the principle that enables the differentiation between self and others. It's what fosters individuality, which we encourage individuality as part of the whole. The Ahamkara can contribute to our psychological conditions when overactive, leading to, mostly ego-driven behaviors. But the ego is necessary to exist in the material world. I've seen many sages, rishis in India, they don't have an ego and they need people to take care of them. They don't know if they should feed themselves or not. They don't know to come in out of the pouring rain. They don't know the difference between night and day. They're in an undifferentiated state. Everything is one to them. We're all striving for that while maintaining our individuality. There's a saying, God, give me enlightenment, but wait a few minutes, I'm still enjoying. We can enjoy and dwell in a very high state of awareness, of consciousness. The nature of Ahamkara, of ego, is dual. It has a constructive and limiting aspect. Constructively, it creates individuality, allowing for this beauty, this diverse experience and expression of life, all the music, the art, the poetry, this dance, all of the beauty of creation is because of this ahamkara. But then on the limited side, it creates attachment and it creates pride. You have a big ego, right? You have a lot of pride. You think you're responsible for all the stuff in your life that you created. It's grace that's responsible. And we allowed ourselves to open to that grace. So this, when someone says you have a big ego, maybe there's pride involved. You think you're more special than anyone else. We're all equal. And it's a false sense of ownership. That's what leads to suffering. Even the ownership of this body, we don't get to keep it. It's here for a short period of time. Creation's been here 14 plus billion years. This material place we live, Earth, in the Milky Way galaxy has only been here 4 billion years. Humans have only existed 300,000 years. In a really good incarnation, we might live 100 years. And we think we're so important and that we own something. We can own anything. The earth will take it all back, including our own body. Any attachment to it is going to lead to suffering. Doesn't mean we don't take care of it. Doesn't mean we don't love it and nurture it and take so much joy in the expression of it. But the attachment to it is what causes the suffering. The functions of the gunas through the ahamkara are also fascinating. It shapes the interplay of life. When we have sattvic ahamkara, it leads to self-awareness, and we don't have ego-driven motives. We do things selflessly. We see ourselves in others, and we want everyone to do well. There's a saying, we all do well when we all do well. The rajasic activity really of the ego manifests as a strong sense of separate identity, and that's what creates competition, pride, and a lot of conflict. I'm right, you're not right. I'm more right than you are. You can be right, but I'm more right. We have very strong opinions, and our opinion needs to be heard. Competition is good, especially in sports. I love basketball. It's a great competitive sport. But at the end of the day, they're all friends. Hopefully, they're all friends. And so it's this rajas, when it's balanced, it's creative and it's inspirational, and it moves things. But when it's out of balance, it can lead to a lot of conflict. And when the tamas is predominating the ego, we're very attached, we're completely self-centered, and ultimately we're confused about who we are and why we're here. So this sense of identity is the core mechanism through which a being identifies himself as a separate entity. And this does allow for personal development and decision-making and right relationships. The great teacher Ram Dass once said that we can't teach a child to be enlightened until they become somebody. You have to go into somebody training before you can go into nobody training, right? So we have to become somebody. Ideally, we become someone who is filled with love and light and creative motives and wants to share that with the world. And within this duality, that's what allows us to perceive and interact and engage with the world around us. If it wasn't for my favorite musician over there, I couldn't hear it over here. So it's the interaction, that's all. And it's a foundation of our cognitive and emotional process. All mental activities, the desires, the attachments, the aversions, the perception, this is where they come from. And as we move through the understanding of this Shankya, we will get into what's called the jnanendriyas and karmendriyas, the organs of perception and the organs of action. And this is what allows us to tie our personal identity to the material world. And like anything else, when they're balanced, they're a tool for beauty and love and can help us live in the world with an ego that has been transcended into a higher mind and higher awareness. When the Ahamkara is balanced, it plays this critical factor in influencing both physical and mental health. But when it's balanced, it does encourage a state of humility. That doesn't mean people walk all over us. It's a state of humility that's governed by self-awareness and a deep contentment and inner peace. And we don't get jealous. We don't have insecurities, even in trying situations. We know who we are, and we're at peace with that. When it's imbalanced, there's constant stress and worry and anxiety, and on a really imbalanced level, what's called narcissistic tendencies. There's not a narcissistic person, but there's narcissistic personality disorder, narcissistic tendencies. And ultimately, this comes from a manifestation of over-identification with our personal achievements, our appearances, our possessions, and how this affects the physical body. Bruce Lipton has this book and science of the biology of the belief. The cells in our body resonate at the level of thought. Candace Perth, molecules of emotion, our cells and our neurohormones and our reproductive hormones and the gut-brain axis is all in relationship to our thoughts and our mind and all these processes. Now there's somatic healing, somatic therapy. That somatic impact is in and through the body. And the Ahamkara's influence on our identity and ownership manifests physically. When there's stress due to egoic desire, what happens? The blood pressure goes up. We have digestive disorders. We become over-attached to our specific foods or specific habits that lead to obesity or diabetes or other lifestyle disorders. Ayurveda's approach to this is love. Love is the best medicine. If that's not working, keep exponentially increasing the dose. But Ayurveda has given us very clear tools to manage this. So has yoga. And what are those tools? Sattvic enhancing therapies, which is yoga, doing the practice of yoga, doing the practice of meditation, of breathing. Even Ayurveda has this amazing cleansing technique called panchakarma, which detoxifies physical and emotional impurities out of the body. And we can eat foods that are in harmony with us. Our spiritual growth and Ahamkara really go hand in hand. It's the ability to have the ego and witness it. When we are in the Purusha, when we're in the Atman, the true self, we can witness the ego as a very valuable tool for operating here. And that's where the practice of Atmacharya is so valuable. Self-inquiry. Who am I? It is the most important question we ask. We want to understand the self through the lens of Ayurveda and Shankya. We have to ask, who am I? We do need to have a mental construct of how we got here and how we work. And this is what we're talking about. So who am I? We surrender that false sense of self to align with the universal consciousness, the universal self. And there's different ways of doing that. There's different ways of overcoming these egoic desires. I mean, this Ahamkara, this ego, it can be the greatest gift and the biggest challenge in our human experience. And I mean, myself, like, the ego is always there. And we need it until we don't need it anymore. Once I was at a satsang with Ram Dass, and these samskaras, these patterns, these tendencies of the ego, someone asked him, Ram Dass, you've been meditating for 50 years, 60 years. You've had the darshan. You've had the blessings of so many saints. You've done so much meditation, so much psychedelics. How long did it take you to transcend the ego and these egoic desires and these samskaras, these patterns? And he just laughed. He said, I don't know what you're talking about. It's like every single one of them is still there. The only difference is I have caller ID on the screen of my mind, and when they call, I just don't pick up the phone anymore. Or I can have a conscious choice over which ones I pick up. And I consciously engage with that. So when we have power, when we have the ability to witness the mind, witness the ego, witness the likes and dislikes, our individuality and interaction with the world doesn't lead to suffering or ignorance. It leads to an awakening, or at least a cultivation of our self-awareness. And we can also then have a humility in the fact that we are human. We're all human and we all have likes and dislikes, and it's whether or not we're attached to them. And when we don't have very much attachment to them, this paves the way for our true self-realization and our liberation from the bondage of the mind. So how do we integrate Shankya and Ayurveda into daily life? How do we integrate practically these teachings? So far, these are just concepts in our mind. They need to be integrated. This is where Ayurveda really goes in depth, because it encourages us to understand the dosha, our unique Ayurvedic constitution, which is Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And then this aligns us to our lifestyle, our diet, our sleep, our relationships for optimum balance and ease. And then we can cultivate that witness consciousness, that awareness, through practices like regular meditation and mindful breathing and reflective journaling. So we can observe our patterns without judgment, without attachment, without being right or wrong. This shift changes our identity from transient emotions and reactions to a steady, peaceful awareness. We need to do these dinacharyas that Ayurveda talks about, daily rhythms, self-oil massage, oil pulling, meditation, mindful eating, doing things at the same time each day. All these things that nurture and nourish the body, the heart, the emotions, the consciousness. But really, the biggest thing is constantly, continuously asking the self, who am I beyond the body? Who am I beyond the thoughts? Who am I beyond the feelings? This type of questioning peels away the layers of the false identification, reconnecting us to a state of pure consciousness. When we do this, the benefits of understanding ourselves through this model, what are the benefits? Why should anyone do this? Why should we embrace these teachings? Because we experience more peace. Very simple. Who doesn't want more peace? All of our addiction in the world, whether it's drugs or alcohol or sex or shopping or Netflix, we all just want the same thing, and that's to get to peace. But we're looking in the wrong place. We're looking outside instead of inside. So embracing these teachings, these practices, leads to peace. It leads to clarity, and it leads to resilience, physically, mentally, emotionally, in the face of life's inevitable ups and downs. It is a roller coaster. Life has moments that are really amazing, that make you in awe of the creation, and other moments that just plain out suck. That suck so bad that we just want to escape. We want to get back to peace. We want to get back to self. And then we find kind of unhealthy ways to do that. We become more compassionate first and foremost with ourselves. The inner critic stops. We stop blaming and judging ourselves, and then we stop blaming and judging others, recognizing that beneath all the struggles, there's pure consciousness in everyone, and we're all in this together. And our physical and emotional and mental health improves because we're no longer working against ourselves. We're aligning deeply with the nature of ourself. That's the foundation of the beginning of the Shankya philosophy and the beginning of Ayurveda. I know this is a long episode. In the next episode, this is a 2-part series. In the next episode, we're going to get into the subtle elements, the tanmatras. These are the essence of our sensory experience. The jnanendriyas, the senses of perception, the sense faculties that perceive the external world, and the karmendriyas, the actual organs of action. And from there, we get to explore the panchamahabhutas, the great elements, the 5 elements that make up our physical universe, and all of the qualities that come with that. From those 5 elements come the 3 doshas and this 10 pairs of opposites that dictates the material world. Then we can truly understand our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual constitution and make decisions on how to live in a way that's in harmony with ourself and nature. So I'd just like to invite you to take a brief pause and inhale all of that. Sit down. Inhale deeply. Ask a couple of questions. Who am I beneath the layer of my physical body? Inhale that. Exhale. Relax. Who am I beneath the layer of thought and emotion? Inhale. Hold that in your heart and your mind, and exhale and relax into it. We don't have to answer the question right now. We just ask the question. Who am I beyond and beneath the different roles I play and the different identities I play? Inhale that and exhale and relax. There's really no need for an immediate answer right now. Just allowing the question to sit in our heart and mind. Observe the question, feel the question, witness the question. We can ask these questions every day, numerous times a day. Take some deep breaths. Who am I? Am I this body? Am I this thought? Am I this emotion? Or am I the witness to all of it? If I was the body, when my 5-year-old body was dead, I should be dead. My 10-year-old body, the body is changing, the material world is changing, but I've always been there. So questioning, reflecting on that. Thank you for joining me today. This has been a lot. It's a lot of information. I recommend revisiting this over and over again. And I really hope that this discussion brought some awareness, brought some clarity. Maybe it brought some deeper connection into your understanding of yourself. As always, if you found benefit in this, I recommend you subscribe so you can catch every episode and share it with your friends, your family, your community. And I love to hear your insights and reflections and thoughts. So leave your comments here. And we will continue this journey, this exploration into health, consciousness, Ayurveda, self-awareness, love, and who we truly are. Until next time, walk in balance, walk in peace, walk in beauty, awaken your heart, your consciousness, and truly, I thank you for joining me. Namaste.